Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitilpa Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitilpa Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Srimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitilpa Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitilpa Vishnu Mahabhagavat Srila Gokshadas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitilpa Vishnu Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivedanta Thakur ki jai. Nitilpa Vishnu Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Pata Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Pata Das Raghunath Sharda Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट विराट गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंज श्याम कुंज की जय। श्री मुन देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। श्री नरोत्तम दास ठाकुर की जय। तदीय शुभ आविर्भाव तिथि की जय। श्री नरोत्तम श्रीनिवास रामानंद पुत्राय की जय। श्री थितुरी ग्राम की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय। श्री निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि। राधे राधे Gargraj. So yeah, the day is almost over, and I never got around to reading anything myself for Srila Narottama Das Thakur, and so I thought I might as well just read it here so that we could read together. So let me just share my screen with you. I'm reading a class by my Srila Gurudeva. I haven't actually read it yet, so we'll be reading it together for the first time. One second. There it is. Okay. Appearance Day of Srila Narottama Das Thakur. This is a lecture that Srila Gurudev gave in Bali in 1997 on Srila Narottama Das Thakur's Appearance Day. Oops, 1 second. Okay. Today is a very auspicious day. It is the birthday of Srila Narottama Das Thakur, who is one of the solid and strong pillars of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's preaching. After the generation of the 6 Goswamis and Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Narottama Das Thakur, Shyamananda Prabhu, and Srinivasacharya became the leaders of the Vaishnavas in Bengal. They took all the books of the 6 Goswamis and other authentic Vaishnava literatures and preached all over Bengal. Especially Narottama Das Thakur preached in eastern India, in such places as Assam and Manipur. Srila Narottama Thakur was a prince. He was the son of a very famous king in that area. From childhood, he had the impressions of pure devotion and wanted to cultivate them. He therefore went to Vrindavan, where he heard about the glory of Sri Jiva Goswami and became attracted to him. Together with Shyamananda and Srinivas, he studied all the Shastras from Jiva Goswami, Vedanta Sutra, Srimad Bhagavatam, and especially the 6 Sandarbhas. In this way, the 3 of them became learned in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Gaudiya Siddhantas. Shyamananda Prabhu was a disciple of Hridayananda of Kalna, yet he joined in to hear the lectures of Sri Jiva Goswami, and he treated him more like his guru than his own Gurudev, Sri Hridayananda. Srila Narottama Das Thakur also studied in the school of Sri Jiva Goswami. Jiva Goswami personally told him to take initiation from Lokanath Das Goswami, and he told Srinivasacharya to take initiation from Gopal Bhatta Goswami. In those days, there were no restrictions as there are today. Everyone was free to associate with topmost Vaishnavas. In fact, gurus would advise their disciples, take the association of these most exalted Vaishnavas, and in this way you will develop your Krishna consciousness. There is no caste consciousness as there is today. Don't go to other Vaishnavas, even though they may be very high class. This is our party, and that is their party, and that is the other group's party. At that time, there was no party spirit at all. Everyone belongs to the family of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All used to hear from all. Oh, I like that quote. I'll probably share that on Facebook. Jiva Goswami had such a pure heart, free from any envy. He had such a pure heart, free from any envy, that he told Narottama Thakur and Srinivasacharya to take initiation from these two high-class Vaishnavas. They had made up their minds to take initiation from Jiva Goswami, but he told them, "Oh, they are my seniors. You will be more benefited by taking their shelter. We are not pure enough to speak in this way to our subordinates. Our hearts are not so improved." Thus, Jiva Goswami sent them to those two great Vaishnavas. But the two had vowed not to make any disciples. The pastimes of Lokanath Das Goswami have not been told in Chaitanya Charitamrita or in any other book. Lokanath Das Goswami was such a topmost elevated Vaishnava that he warned Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatana Goswami, and other writers. "If you want my mercy, then do not glorify me or write my name in your books." When they assured him of this, only then did he give his blessings and tell them, "Your books will be successfully completed. Krishna's mercy will be on you." It is for this reason that these great Vaishnava authors have not mentioned his name. They obeyed him, they followed his order. Yes, Pramila Didi. All used to hear from all. One day, by the order of Jiva Goswami, a very beautiful prince, that boy Narottama, came to Lokanath Das Goswami and took his foot dust. Lokanath Das Goswami asked him, "Who are you?" Narottama replied, "I am a very wretched person, a fallen boy. I want to take shelter of your lotus feet. Please initiate me." Lokanath Das Goswami flatly refused. He told Narottama, you can go to any famous Vaishnava and take his shelter. I am a worthless person. I don't know how to do bhajan. I only eat, drink, and sleep. I do not engage in bhakti. It is better that you go to any learned and qualified person." Narottama Das Thakur requested again and again, but Lokanath Das Goswami remained grave and refused to initiate him. Although Narottama Das Thakur left at that time, he began to think how he could possibly get initiation from this Mahabhagavat. Narottama Das was very worried and began to think how to please him. He began to clean the place where Lokanath Das Goswami was passing stool in the forest. He thus cleaned it regularly, every night, and he also cleaned the path to that place. Once, in a very dark night, at about midnight, Lokanath Das Goswami caught hold of the hand of this boy and asked him, "Who are you, and why are you doing this?" Narottama Das Thakur began to weep bitterly and replied, "Because I want to please you." "Oh, you are a very pure devotee. What do you want?" "I only want to be initiated by you." Narottama Das again began to weep. On seeing the boy's devotion, Lokanath Das Goswami was at once moved and accepted him. He told him, "Please come to me after taking bath in the Yamuna." The next morning, Narottama took bath and came to Lokanath Das Goswami, who initiated him into the Krishna mantra, Gopal mantra, Kling Krishnaya Swaha, and the Kam Gayatri, Kling Kamadevaya. He gave him these two mantras and advised him, "Don't go anywhere. Be seated here with me in my bhajan kutir." He built a hut for him, right next to his own, and said, "Always remain here with me. Chant Harinam and hear from me." Narottama Das did as he was told. One day at midday, when the sun was very hot, a thirsty farmer came and asked Lokanath Das Goswami, "Please give me some water or give me some rope and a bucket so that I can pull water from the well." Lokanath Das Goswami did not reply. Perhaps he did not even see that person, as he was quite absorbed in his bhajan. Because Lokanath Das Goswami could not hear him, the farmer went to the next hut and asked Narottama, "Oh, young Babaji, can you give me some water?" Narottam came out and gave him some water. Thus the farmer was satisfied and went away. Later, Lokanath Das Goswami called Narottam and said, "You don't know what is bhajan? Krishna is personally his name. There is no difference at all between them. Nama Chintamani Krishnas Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purno Shuddho Nitya Mukto Bhinatvam Nama Namino." The holy name of Krishna is transcendently blissful. It bestows all spiritual benedictions, for it is Krishna himself, the reservoir of all pleasure. Krishna's name is complete, and it is the form of all transcendental mellows. It is not a material name under any condition, and it is no less powerful than Krishna himself. Since Krishna's name is not contaminated by the material qualities, there is no question of its being involved with Maya. Krishna's name is always liberated and spiritual. It is never conditioned by the laws of material nature. This is because the name of Krishna and Krishna himself are identical. Padma Puran. In some ways, the name is even superior to Krishna. You don't know this truth? You are serving Krishna. Chanting or remembering Krishna means serving him. But you are thinking that the service of chanting Harinam is inferior to giving water to a thirsty person. That is why you served him. You have no belief that Krishna can quench his thirst. Krishna can give anything, but you have no faith in him. So return at once to your home. Become qualified there, and then you can come back. At present, you are not qualified. One should have strong faith in Krishna's name. You know the strong faith of Haridas Thakur? He was whipped in 22 marketplaces, and his skin and muscles became shredded, but he never left his chanting of Harinam. Lokanath Das Goswami thus ordered Narottam Das Thakur, "Leave this place." Hearing this, Narottam began to weep bitterly. Although Lokanath Das Goswami had a very soft heart, like a flower, he desired auspiciousness for Narottam Das, and so he became hard like a stone. It was for Narottam's welfare that he said, "Go from here." Narottam Das Thakur was not an ordinary devotee. He was an associate of Srimati Radhika herself, and in his Manjari form, he is Vilas Manjari. He was playing a role only to give inspiration to devotees. He was weeping and returned to his home, but he realized everything. In fact, he began to chant and sing in such a way that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with all of his associates would come to listen to his classes and his singing. He sang pathetically, with tears in his eyes and a choked voice, "Krishna, Krishna, Hare, Hare." And Lalasmai Prarthana, Gauranga bolite have pulaka sharira, Hari Hari bolite na yane babeni. When will that time come when that my hairs will stand on end upon singing the name Gauranga? When will my eyes overflow with tears as I chant the holy names of Hari Hari? Ar kabe nitai chande karuna hoibe sansara vasana mor kabe tucha habe. And when will the moon of Nityananda Prabhu bestow his mercy on me? When will material desires become small and insignificant? Vivishaya chariya kabe shuddha habe mana kabe hamar he ravo Shri Vrindavan. When will I renounce material enjoyment and my mind will become purified? When will I see the Chinmay Swarup of Shri Vrindavan? Rupa Raghunatha Pade Hoibe Yakuti Kabe Hama Bhuja Boshe Jugala Piriti. When will I eagerly follow the path of Sri Rupa Goswami and Sri Raghunath Das Goswami? By their instructions, I will be able to understand the divine love of Sri Radha and Krishna. Rupa Raghunatha Pade Raghumara Asha Prarthana koroye sada Narottama dasa. My only aspiration is to attain the lotus feet of Sri Rupa Goswami and Sri Raghunath Das Goswami. This is Narottam Das's constant prayer. He sang kirtan along with mridanga, and each word of his kirtan was uttered by his mridanga. Whoa. The mridanga sounded like the singing of Narottam himself, although it was actually the sweet sound coming from his mridanga. Narottam's mood was such that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Swarup Damodar, Rai Ramananda, Vikeshwar Pandit, Srivas Pandit, and all of Mahaprabhu's associates appeared and began to dance with Narottam Thakur. And when he stopped his kirtan, they at once disappeared. Wow, that was beautiful. The thousands of devotees present there were astonished. When he was singing about Sri Radha and Krishna, Radha Krishna personally came to hear with all of their associates, and Krishna was playing beautiful songs on his flute. Thus, in a few years, Narottam Das Thakur preached all over East Bengal, Assam, and Manipur. He hailed from the village Keturi. He was born and brought up there, and his father and uncle were living there. His father was a big king. Narottam Das Thakur manifested 6 Thakurs, 6 deities there, namely Radha Govinda, Radha Gopinath, Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Vamshidhari, Radha Giridhari, and Radha Vallabhi Kanta. He also organized a great festival that became famous in the Gaudiya Vaishnava history. Srimati Janava Devi, who was a Nanga Manjari in Krishna Lila, the wife of Nityananda Prabhu, was elected as president. All accepted her like their preceptor, including Srila Jiva Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami. When Bhadra, the son of Nityananda Prabhu's wife Vasudha, became 16 years old, he wanted to take initiation, but he could not find any person whom he considered qualified. Someone told him, "Why are you not taking the shelter of Srimati Janava Devi and being initiated by her?" He said, "She is a lady, and I don't want to be initiated by a lady." Then, one early morning, Srimati Janava Devi was pulling water from a well to take a shower. When Virachandra came to take some advice from her for some she's pulling water from a well to take a shower when Virabhadra came to take advice from her for some necessary work. He saw her pulling out water from the well half naked, with just a towel covering the lower half of her body. Both of them were ashamed to see each other in this circumstance, even though she was an elderly, and like a mother to him. Srimati Janava Devi at once manifested 4 arms, with 2 pulling water from the well and the other 2 covering her breasts. Astonished, Virabhadra immediately fell at her feet, lotus feet, and begged her to forgive his offenses. He told her, "I have nothing more to do. I want to take initiation from you right now. You are my guru." So Srimati Devi is a very exalted personality. The power, the Shakti of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, and she serves Radha Krishna in their conjugal love in the form of a Nanga Manjari. Therefore, she was elected as the supreme leader of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. At this festival, all prominent Vaishnavas of that time came together, like Sri Shyamananda Prabhu, Sri Srinivasacharya, and hundreds of thousands of other devotees. It was one of the biggest festivals in the history of Vaishnavism. All present were charmed on hearing the sweet songs of Sri Narottam Das Thakur, and all of them were blessed with the darshan of Sri Radha Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came to hear these sweet melodies. Narottam Das Thakur was the best devotee of his time. He is an associate of Sri Radha Krishna and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and in fact, he is a manifestation of Sri Chaitanya. Mahaprabhu. Sri Lokanath Das Goswami is also an associate of Sri Radha Krishna by the name of Manjulali Manjari. By sending Narottam Thakur back to his village, he played a trick and by this trick he sent Narottam Das Thakur to preach all over the world. Had he not done so, no such preaching would have been done. All preaching would have been destroyed. If he had continued to request Narottam to sit and chant Harinam in his kutir, there would have not been such great preaching. You can also look at the example of Sri Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur and Srila Gaurkishoras Babaji Maharaj. Srila Gaurkishoras Babaji Maharaj was a follower of Lokanath Das Goswami. He never wanted name, fame, or anything like this. He always chanted Harinam and used to sing in the deepest moods with tears in his eyes. O Radhe, Prema Mai Radhe Radhe, O Govinda, where are you? Gosai ek bar dake Radha Kunde, abar dake Shama Kunde, Radhe Radhe. Sometimes at Radhakund, sometimes at Shamakund. Gosai ek bar dake Vrindavane, abar dake Bandirbane. Bandirbane, interesting. Gosai in this connection refers to Raghunath Das Goswami. Usually it's Kunjavani, but here Gurudev said Bandirbane. So Gosai in this connection refers to Raghunath Das Goswami. Srila Gaurkishoras Babaji Maharaj could not live without remembering Srimati Radhika, always calling out, O Radhe, where are you? Where are you? Rolling down on the earth, he cried, He Radhe Vraja Devi ke chalalite nanda suna kuta Shri Govardhana kalpa pada patale kalindi vane kuta Koshanta viti sarvato vrajapure ke dharmahavivado Vande rupa sanatana rabhuyago Shri Jiva Gopalako. I am doing vandana to the 6 Goswamis who are always calling out, O Radhe, O Queen of Vrindavan, where are you? O Lalite, O son of Nanda Maharaj, where are you? Are you seated beneath the kalpa vriksha trees of Sri Govardhan Hill? Or are you roaming in the forests along the soft banks of the Kalindi? They were always lamenting, overwhelmed and burning in feelings of great separation as they wandered throughout all Braj Mandal. Sometimes in Vrindavan and sometimes in Radhakund, he was weeping and rolling on the ground, crying bitterly, Radhe, 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 if you do not give me your mercy, I shall die at once. He used to do this kind of bhajan, nirjan bhajan, in solitary places. He also made a vow not to initiate anyone, but Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur had vowed, I will not take initiation from anyone but Srila Gaurkishoras Babaji Maharaj, otherwise I will die. Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur had to become a mediator between them. He asked Babaji Maharaj, what is your duty toward the conditioned souls? To give mercy? Then why are you not giving your mercy to this boy? He is going to die. By the persuasion of Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, he agreed and gave initiation to this one person only, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He ordered him, never go to Kali. Kali means Kolkata. At that time it's called Kalikata. But when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was initiated and took sannyas, even before he took sannyas, he first went to Kolkata. There he started his preaching, and gradually he preached all over India and the world. Did he disobey his spiritual master by going to Kolkata? Can anyone claim this? Whoever will speak this is committing a grave offense. What he did was a great service to his spiritual master. He glorified him all over the world by doing so. Had he not done so, we would not know about Srila Gaurkishoras Babaji Maharaj and Krishna. You and I and millions of devotees gathered today only due to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's mercy, which he received from his guru, Srila Gaurkishoras Babaji Maharaj. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj preached in Western and Eastern countries, but he was a part of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's and Sri Nityananda Prabhu's preaching. The original preachers are Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu. All gurus in the disciplic succession are obeying them. If Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Gaurkishoras Babaji Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, and Srila Narottam Das Thakur had not appeared, How could we have come together? Come together here? Therefore, we should honor all gurus in the disciplic succession. If we say that our guru is the only one and we honor only him and not read the books of Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, and others like Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, then we are offenders and we will not be able to enter the realm of bhakti. Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, though he was restricted not to go to Kali Raja, the realm of Kali, he went there and began to preach from there to the whole world. He collected devotees like Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, and also our Guru Maharaj, and others from Kolkata. If he had not started his preaching from there, no one would have come under the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's beautiful Siddhanta. So we cannot say that he disobeyed his Gurudev. In this way, we also cannot say that Srila Narottama Das Thakur disobeyed his Guru. In fact, he fulfilled the manobhishta, or internal desire of his divine grace. We should always try to reconcile these apparent contradictions. Sometimes pure disciples act like this, so we'll have to reconcile. If we do not reconcile, we will go to hell. There are many such incidents described in Srimad Bhagavatam. One time, Krishna spoke to the gopis. Go back to your homes and serve your husbands, your children and cows. But the gopis countered his arguments and said, we are not at fault. You are at fault. We consider you to be our guru. You are instructing us to serve our husbands, our children, and so on. Therefore, you are our guru. The guru must be respected and worshipped first before anyone else. If you are not accepting our worship, then you are guilty, not us. They defeated all of Krishna's arguments, and he was bound to accept their service. Sometime later, the gopis asked Krishna, why did you tell us to return to our homes and serve our husbands? Krishna replied, I never said this. I said that the full moon nights are not dark, but you understood that they are dark. In Sanskrit, these shlokas have double meanings. Hence, we should always read and understand them under the guidance of Vaishnavas. Otherwise, we may not understand their true meaning. We should understand that Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur and Sri Narottama Das Thakurs never disobeyed their gurus. Rather, they very respectfully more than obeyed them. Sometimes Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj writes in his books one thing in one place, and in other places the opposite. You may find this in many places, but it should be reconciled. For example, he has written in some places that the soul has fallen from Goloka Vrindavan, and in other places that the soul can never fall from Goloka Vrindavan. Here we see some apparent contradiction. Which statement should we follow? Don't try to follow him by your own intelligence. It is best to read his books with the understanding that his conclusions must be the same as the conclusions of Srila Jiva Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, or Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada. If one of his two statements is contradicting the conclusion of Srila Jiva Goswami or Srila Rupa Goswami, Mahaprabhu, Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, or Srila Prabhupada, then we can conclude that Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj had one special purpose in that. Otherwise, without this understanding, you'll be derailed from the bhakti path, and become an offender. How can we reconcile his statement that the soul has fallen from Goloka and has now forgotten Krishna? He said this for beginners. He did right. Beginners cannot comprehend higher Siddhanta. There would have been no use explaining it to them. For example, we may say to a weeping small boy that the moon is here on the tree. The moon is not on a tree, but we cannot give him any philosophical or any sophisticated explanation because he will not understand. Therefore, we tell him that the moon is here on the branches of the tree. This is appropriate. However, when he has gained some knowledge, at that time we can tell him that the moon is not on the tree. Once we will be qualified, we will understand. We will read Sri Jiva Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, or Sri Sanatana Goswami, and recognize that everything is there in Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj's books. He has written something for general persons, for beginners, but his real conclusion is this. Those who have gone to Goloka Vrindavan are liberated from this world. Either they became liberated, or they are Kaya Vyuha manifestations of Srimati Radhika, or Nityasiddha manifestations of Sri Baladev Prabhu. There's no Mahamaya in Goloka Vrindavan, only Yogamaya, Purnamasi. Bad thoughts can never enter the hearts of Goloka residents. They are always tasting the mellows of Krishna prema. So how can they fall? Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj has told this very clearly many times. I can show it, and others have also told so. We should not be in confusion and thus confuse others. He is quoted as saying that we should not read any books besides his. Why would he have said this? Because first we should become qualified, and then we must read books like Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Ujjalingamani. Otherwise we will lose everything. So we will have to reconcile all this. Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj sometimes spoke about Raganuga Bhajan. He was qualified to speak about this, but most of his listeners were not qualified to understand how he was nearer than them to the teachings of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. They could only comprehend primary teachings. They could not sort out all such higher topics. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj has written and explained everything in his books, but we need to learn from a Mahabhagavat how to understand his books. Jaha Bhagavata Koro Vaishnavera Stane, Ekanta Ashraya Koro Chaitanya Charani. If you want to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, you must approach the self-realized Vaishnava and hear from him. You can do this when you have completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Antilila 5:131. Actually, there is nothing contradictory in Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj's books. Rather, he spoke to different levels of devotees. For example, it is written somewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam that the world is false. This does not mean that the physical world is false, but that the worlds we ourselves make, our conceptions that this is my father, mother, wife, and so on, are false. Our creation is false. Worldly relations are illusory, but the sun, the moon, and the pastimes of Sri Ram and Sri Krishna are not false. We have to reconcile all these things, but we can reconcile them only if we are associating with high-class Vaishnavas. All right, I'm going to just leave right now. I'll do quick Jaidwani because they already started serving up prasad and I don't want to miss it. Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Gurudev Ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Param Gurudev Ki Jai, Shri Rupanu Gaurya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Shri Narottama Das Thakur Ki Jai, Shri Puri Gram Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Bol. Jai Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Tulsi Maharaj Ki Jai, Sapashaji Gaur Nityananda Ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Bol. Vancha Vrinda Tulsi Devaya Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradevi Satyavataya Namo Namaha Vancha Bhaktaruvyascha Kripa Sindhu Jai Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandava Pranam, Hari Bol. See you all whenever. Tomorrow morning if you join the Srimad Bhagavatam class. All right, good evening. Having a difficult time ending the stream, what the heck? This is frustrating. Okay. Something weird happens. My second screen gets frozen and I'm not able to do anything on it. That's why I was, okay, Hari Bol.